Now, very first story, Deputy Health Minister Victor Bampo has revealed government will go for a bailout to settle debts owed by the National Health Insurance Authority, NHIS. Mr. Bampo, who was speaking at a dialogue of health practitioners on how to sustain the scheme, also mentioned the NHIS will be redesigned in order to reduce or possibly eliminate errors. And Odame, what's other function and reports?
The National Health Insurance Scheme, since its introduction in 2003, has been bedeviled with numerous challenges. Payment of claims was the major one, but that has been addressed with the electronic claims system. Other challenges confronting the authority include size of package given to beneficiaries, adjustment of premium, and exception policy. All these, the authority admits, has affected its smooth operations. Discussing how to sustain the scheme for the future, Vice President of the Society of Private Medical and Dental Practitioners, Dr. Isaac Morrison, reiterated the need for a co-payment system.
I am for that in the sense that it may help address some of the health-seeking behaviors of some clients who just visit facilities, or we call it shopping around. But we need to discuss it dispassionately to know exactly which form will suit us, because I'm not oblivious of the fact that we have stuck poor people in this country.
This suggestion was rejected by United Health Coverage Ghana's representative.
For anybody to suggest co-payment as a solution to this problem, he said no, because it will mean that we are going back to the cash and carry that we have abolished. So co-payment is not up for this, it's not an option, it's a lazy way of trying to address the problem.
Former Health Minister Dr. Richard Anani said debts owed by the authority may never be paid unless his suggestion of a 1% VAT to be allocated to the NHIS is implemented.
Hence, we thought the best way to do it and the most sustainable way was the 1% out of the national health, the VAT. We think it's a very progressive tax. We don't even have the poor people in the villages having to pay VAT because they don't really buy vegetable items. So it's still on those of us who are in the big cities who have to be buying things which are vegetable. So we think that is a very progressive way of getting funding.
Member of the National Development Planning Commission and former government statistician Grace Bediako blamed the current situation on the unavailability of identity cards and accurate estimation of Ghana's population. Deputy Health Minister Victor Bampo outlined some interventions by government.
In fact, government has started doing things urgent. Number one is to do what you call the bailout. So, find money to rapidly reduce the pressure that the providers are feeling, and this is something that is going on already. Then the second prong of our strategy is then to look at the whole scheme and to try and do some redesign. How we do it is what we need to interrogate a bit more and to have some discussion about.
Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer at the NHIS, Sylvester Mensah, says a committee has been set up to review the operations of the scheme.
The authority has put in place a committee. We will be widening this committee to look into this particular aspect, which is more of a medium to long-term solution. The immediate solution, as the minister has indicated, is a bailout to clear the arrears and also to fashion out how to hold the system until we are able to put in place a firm, restructured health insurance consistent with our ability to pay, with a clear definition or redefinition of what we are purchasing and for whom, in terms of benefit package rationalization, in terms of review of exemption regime, and a host of others.
So, it is obvious the NHIS needs help to remain operational, and the earlier these suggestions are implemented, the better for the millions of Ghanaians whose only hope of getting access to healthcare is the NHIS system. Hannah Odame for Joy News.
The Ghana Registered Nurses Association will over the next 2 weeks assist nurses of the Ridge Hospital financially until their March and April salaries are hopefully paid at the end of this month. This decision was arrived at after a meeting between the nurses and the GRNA, at which the nurses resolved to call off their sit-down strike.
We passed a resolution that we are calling off the strike, and we have indeed called off the strike, and so they've gone back to work.
How are we resolving the matter at hand with regards to the salaries?
Well, we've made controller aware of the difficulties, and they've also assured the nurses and midwives here that granted that the policy about validating their data on the payroll is done by the appropriate unit of the hospital.
From now till then, how have you proposed to these nurses to manage coming to work?
Well, they will manage, and the arrangement we have put in place is that actually they are seeing their unit heads to register any complaints or difficulty about coming to work if they have problems, financial problems. So the unit heads will put together those grievances about these difficulties, and they will pass it on to the nursing administration and the GRNA. Yeah,
the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association, Kwekwa Sante Krabia, says both March and April salaries will be paid at the end of this month. Acting head of nurses Mercy Akwa Hayford tells Joy News they are content with the outcome of the meeting, but questions the financial capacity of the GRNA to cushion the over 500 nurses financially over the next 2 weeks.
But where will the association get money to pay 566 nurses? And why should 566 nurses not be paid? If there are 3 PVs and 2 has been validated, why shouldn't 1 be validated? We have taken it in good faith, but we are praying that this doesn't happen again. They'll be borrowing from friends and from well wishers. Even if you are ready to donate, we will take.
You haven't been paid, you don't have the money, you still have to come to work as a grumbled nurse.
Expect me to cry, so we won't cry, we're working. That's what. It is possible because we've been working from 1st of April to now. Until yesterday that this incident happened. And it all happened when I wasn't around. But now that I'm back, they are working.
But the president of the GRNA insists the association has the funds to support the nurses.
Well, sure. If they have money, the association will give them money.
Does the association have the money to do that?
The association has the money. I will make sure we will give them money.
The association has the money to give these nurses to come to work with, transport, food, all of that. The association is going to take care of it if any nurse comes to the association and registers that complaint.
The assurance we have given to the nurses and midwives here is that within the next 2 weeks, the association will take care of their financial needs.
Now, scores of workers from waste management company Zoom Lion have been picketing in Accra to demand the payment of their salary arrears. The workers say the salaries have not been paid for 6 months. They're appealing to the president to step in and remedy the situation.
Our employers haven't paid in more than 6 months. We were called into a meeting on Friday. We weren't given any favorable response. The president should help us.
Up to now, November, from November up to now, and yes, you come say, oh, man, penny moment, now something say, yes, says he come with Missiano, but you are my
We are here to demand our salaries. We are paid a meager amount of money at the end of the month. We want him to plead on our behalf. To make matters worse, we buy our own equipment. Why should those in the office be paid when those of us on the field haven't been paid?
Hospital.
We spend a lot of money on transportation to work, and we don't get paid at the end of the month, though it's even a small amount. The president should hear our cry.
A section of the students' body of the University of Ghana is accusing government of being biased towards the recently elected SRT president. Ohene Davis Fobi emerged winner of the election, which was also contested by Migdat Mohammed, whose supporters say the poll was rigged. The Bureau of National Investigations is presently looking into the claims of fraud. But the students at the news conference at the Legon campus here in Accra said government is using state agencies to overturn the results.
The students, mostly supporters of Ohene Davis, were clad in red and black attire and armbands to demonstrate their displeasure at the turn of events after the declaration of the results. They sang and chanted through the news conference. They are calling for the release of Stephen Forson, the software developer whose software was used for the electronic voting. The students say they're unhappy Mr. Forson has been picked up by the Bureau of National Intelligence for his alleged involvement in the rigging of the just-ended elections. They also alleged that some students were physically assaulted prior to this year's election. Kwame Apenti is the convener of the group.
A week early to this event, a certain gentleman, also not a student of the University of Ghana, but working as a personal assistant to a deputy minister, came to campus with the nation's security apparatus in order to cause the arrest of students who he believed were members of Ohene Davis Fobi. That is the winner of the elections, his team. Is it because when one finds himself in the corridors of power, state powers and resources are arrogated to individuals, to the extent that national service personnel also show where power lies?
We're taking a break. We have more stories coming up thereafter. Don't go away. A young man was killed at Kwashimang, a suburb here in Accra, on the dawn of Wednesday in what is believed was an armed robbery attack. Typically, Francis Thomas Anderson's death would have been just another statistic because he isn't a public figure or a high-profile personality. He, however, has friends who have taken to social media to pour out their grief. Beatrice Edu reports Francis, who recently got married, is leaving behind a pregnant wife and a devastated family.
Friends and neighbors had gathered outside the home where Francis and his wife lived, many of them grief-stricken upon hearing news about his death. Inside the home, the blood-stained floors and walls were yet to be cleaned after the dawn attack. Francis's marriage was just 4 months old, and his friends on Facebook recall it so vividly, reposting photographs of the beautiful couple on their wedding day. An uncle of the deceased, Safo Odro, was the first on the scene.
At this dawn, around 1:15 a.m., I heard an unfamiliar voices around my area, my vicinity. You know, I live just directly opposite to where he lives. And he lives on top of a story building, whilst I occupy the down part of another building. I saw movements on top of the story building that the guys were coming, guys were going there. And I said, no, what's happening? Immediately I asked myself what's happening. I heard a gunshot and a fire from the gun outside the fence wall. That's my fence wall. Then I saw 3 guys coming from my nephew's apartment, jumped from on top of the wall onto a BMW and landed on the ground, then went away. So as they jumped, then the wife came knocking at my gate. Uncle Safo, I said, what's the matter? They say, your nephew has been shot. So I have to immediately change into something, follow there, climb the step, went to the hall. Where is he? She took me to the kitchen. Here lies my nephew in a pool of blood.
The devastated mother of the 29-year-old graphic designer said Francis, along with his sister, were her greatest companions.
I have 2 children, boy and a girl. It's my age. Should I bury my son instead of him burying me? It's not easy. not easy at all. Papa is my everything. I didn't have enough children, only 2. The daddy traveled very early. Papa was 12 years old when the daddy traveled. So my companions were my children.
Clara, Francis's only sibling, said he was extremely caring. Mrs. Anderson had been taken away from the house at the time the news team got there. The police have since visited the scene to take evidence for investigations to begin. Beatrice Edu, Joy News, Accra.
Now, there have been some interesting revelations in the story about the kidnapping of a radio presenter in Takoradi. The story, which broke on Monday, has left many puzzled because of the many twists and spins in the story. The police service has indicated that it will put the matter in perspective on Thursday at a news conference. But ahead of that, Joy News' Eric Curtis Howard has picked up some interesting bits of information which suggests the whole incident might actually have been staged.
The new developments came to light when friends of the suspects, alleged to have abducted and raped Ada, decided to break their silence. They told the news team Ada is well known in the Bosokain area, where she visits her boyfriend every weekend.
She get me in Alabia to 2 times. Get a genuine, she not Alabia to the Nika show upside that
The boy is my friend, but I've seen the lady just about 2 times. I've seen her with other boys in the neighborhood. Aside that, I don't have any information about her.
Okay, day before day is a nearby. Day is an in already when I'll get a no more boys, so no I can kidnap na keleni and get a question because get an area boys say, the woman no jack kidnap because more come be done anytime come be coming yanu down I'm have fun.
When I saw the pictures and heard that the lady said she was kidnapped, I knew it was false. How can someone who is always in the neighborhood with the same boys say she has been kidnapped by the same boys she mingles with? I am surprised.
3 days to the Beckham. That house Monday Beckham. I'm a road and I'm a he shout to me and what's happening. Nature I normal. So the
last time I saw her with the boys was on Monday, and even when I went to the boys' mother's house, she showed me the sponge the lady uses to bath.
So at least
I think Ghanaians should really verify if what she claims truly happened.
This claim was corroborated by the father of one of the suspects. The truth is that the lady has been coming to this house, and she even mingled with the boys in the neighborhood. I've been seeing her with my son Idrisu, but I don't really know what business they have together.
She is Papa Minister.
So I inquired from my son where he knew the lady from, and all he could tell me that she is from Takoradi and her father is a minister.
I
told my son to be very careful because you can't trust people nowadays. Even during the Easter festivities, the lady was around, and just this Monday, the lady came from Takoradi to spend some time with my son.
police station.
Right now, I'm saddened by the turn of events. Just yesterday, I was outside when the children told me that the police had come to arrest Idrisu. At the moment, I am distraught and don't know what to do. We follow to the hotel where the incident was allegedly staged, and we pick up some interesting signals. The hotel manager would not speak on camera but revealed he had offered a room to Ada and the 5 suspects. When they convinced him, they needed a room to shoot a movie. He's therefore surprised at the stories that have emerged since then. He said he has written a statement with the police to aid in investigations. This internet cafe is where Ada is alleged to have posted pictures of her ordeal herself. Our investigations revealed the cafe manager has been picked up by the police for questioning. In another interesting development, it was revealed on today's big story that Ada was not a Nigerian after all, but a Ghanaian. The police press conference tomorrow will hopefully clear all doubts surrounding the story. Eric Curtis Howard, Joy News.
Hopefully, the entire picture will become a lot clearer at the police news conference tomorrow. Meanwhile, Gender and Social Protection Minister Nano Yelitha has revealed her ministry is closely monitoring development and investigations into the alleged abduction and rape of the YFM presenter in Takrady. In the meantime, she says people should desist from further sharing the naked photos of the lady.
Strongly discouraging and asking people, do not send the naked or pictures related to this issue on your Twitter or Facebook or other social media outlets. It violates the rights of this victim, violates her rights to privacy, and it's not even Ghanaian to do that. So we're encouraging national media, we're asking National Media Commission to see to it that this is complied with, that this is the directive from the ministry. We are in close contact with the Ghana Police Service on this issue. I have personally spoken severally to Rosa Tengabio, who is on, and the police is working to investigate and also to find out exactly what happened. I have also asked the regional director for gender and also for social welfare in the Western region to give me a situation report by tomorrow, so that we can also support and also take action as deemed fit.
In another development, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection is demanding improved service in justice delivery for victims of gender-based violence. At a dialogue to strategize ways of fast-tracking prosecution of gender-based violence cases, the sector minister was disappointed such cases get low conviction rates.
Statistics from the Domestic Violence and Victim Support Unit of the Ghana Police Service indicate 66% of cases reported in 2013 were still under investigations at the end of that year. Though there are strong legal and policy frameworks for gender-based violence, they are not generating positive results as unresolved cases pile up. The Gender Ministry intends to use established evidence gathered with forensic science to swiftly prosecute cases.
Which rape victim who has gone through such a traumatizing experience, then after she's been able to she's tried to forget it. 2 years later, when she's forgotten, you want her to come and stand in court and then to talk about the trauma again. She will not come. In 1998, we did it when we said defilement should be by summary trial. So now we see that defilement cases are being adjudicated upon because it's no longer jury trial. So should we also look at that for rape? We need to scale up forensics. We need to get the technology to determine who is the one who raped in a quicker way, so that once it goes to court, it doesn't take 2 years.
Defilement tops the list of sexual violence cases reported.
In fact, in DOPSO, defilement is the highest number of cases that are reported, about 1,000 and over. But at the end of the day, the prosecution is not the best. I won't say not the best. Today we are hearing of the challenges prosecutors go through, but in some, the conviction was 70.
The ministry is teaming up with Danish Development Assistance to Ghana, DANIDA, to improve investigations and adjudication, and most importantly, build victim confidence so they can boldly report abuse cases.
One thing is, of course, to have the laws. One thing is to have the, the follow-up of the laws, the judiciary, the police, etc. But it's also basically a lot about mindset, change of mindset. And I think that's that's not something that we can only do with having laws. It has to come from inside, actually, inside of us, the women, but also inside men and the society as a whole.
DANIDA is supporting the one-year project with 1 million Ghana cedis.
600 people have lost their jobs between January and April alone. This is according to the Ghana Employers Association. Speaking at the launch of a national employment policy, the GEA's Executive Director, Alex Frimpong, said government must, as a matter of urgency, address issues of energy, skill mismatch, and the ever-increasing cost of doing business in Ghana if employers are to create jobs. The Employers Association is also asking government to provide local investors the incentives being offered their foreign counterparts and work at changing the work culture where employers believe they are working for employees.
Over the past decade, Ghana has suffered serious energy deficits that continue to affect all businesses and industrial competitiveness. As a matter of fact, as of January to date, about 12,600 people have lost their jobs due to this energy deficit. Employers cannot create jobs if energy deficits continue to hurt the economy. Besides, investors cannot invest in Ghana if it continues to be saddled with energy problems. Ghana must significantly reduce the cost of doing business if it really claims to be winning our fight against unemployment. Our technical and vocational training apprentices systems might be streamlined to produce demand-driven skills that our labor market is needed. Educated, skillful workers are rare. We are finding a hard time having people with skills to work in our companies. It is against this background that the government's decision to convert polytechnics into technical should be handled with circumvention to ensure that the concerns of industry are fully taken into account before they roll out this plan. Employers are ready and to engage our partners in the implementing of the national employment policy. The investors who are looking to come from outside are already here in Ghana.
Responding to his concerns, President John Mahama said government is addressing discrimination against local investors, adding the Ghana Investment Promotion Center needs to also educate local investors on existing incentives and opportunities. He said Ghanaians would have to take advantage of the country's local content policies.
We need to take advantage of some of these opportunities. The Enterprise Development Center was set up to train indigenous Ghanaian entrepreneurs to be able to take advantage of the local content law that we had passed. The local content law is existing and operational, but oil and gas companies will get exemptions if they cannot find the right skills. And that is why our young people should look at these opportunities and take advantage of them. Government is also eliminating discrimination between foreign and indigenous investors. As the president of the Employers Association said, an investor is an investor, whether he is foreign or he is indigenous. And so we're eliminating discrimination between the two kinds of investors. It is therefore important for the GIPC to educate the Ghanaian private sector on incentives that are available to indigenous investors. There are many cases in which the Ghanaian private sector and indigenous investors do not even know that they can register with the GIPC and enjoy incentives, including tax holidays. And so I think we must step up education in this area.
A new national employment policy has been launched. The policy outlines ways Ghana intends to create decent jobs, improve productivity, and strengthen governance and labor administration, among others. During the policy, President John Mahama said the spirit of the policy will be pursued to the fullest. Gifty Andwapia has more.
10.9% of Ghana's youth are said to be unemployed. A whopping 68.8% are in vulnerable employment. The National Employment Policy seeks not only to provide pragmatic guidelines on quality job creation, but to serve as a reference point for all employment deliberations. The launch brought together major stakeholders, including the International Labour Organization, Trade Union Congress, and the Ghana Employers Association. Employment Minister Haruna Idrisu says immediate measures to realize implementation will be pursued. Describing the policy as extremely ambitious, Director General of the ILO, Guy Ryder, said his outfit will support Ghana to implement the policy. He reiterated the need for the country to balance jobs and growth with public sector finance.
The policy is infused throughout by the spirit of tripartite cooperation, and its very last provision addresses the need for the institutionalization of strong dialogue between social partners for informed decision-making.
Strategic partnerships, revamp of defunct state agencies and private engagement are among key steps being explored by government to deal with the issue.
The obligation for skills, empowerment and training now falls more on government in order to prepare the young people for the world of work so that the employers can take them up and immediately put them to work. Let me assure my fellow Ghanaians and our international partners that the spirit behind this newly produced national employment policy will be vigorously prosecuted as key strategies for improved jobs and decent work.
But Secretary General of the TUC, Kofi Asamoah, has fears the objectives may not be achieved. He has raised concerns about inconsistencies between the policy objectives and the economic policies, energy challenges, and the deplorable state of the Employment Ministry.
We in Organized Labour have always pointed to the inconsistencies between Ghana's over-liberalized trade policy and our national employment objectives. We've opened our doors so wide to understand that everything is brought into the fold, thereby killing our local industries. Indeed, our local industries are unable to compete. If we continue to pursue this kind of trade policy, I'm afraid we cannot achieve the objectives of our new national employment policy.
Unemployment has been one of the major socio-political debates nationwide, with the launch of a new national employment policy. In the midst of energy and economic challenges, many are curious to see the impact of this policy when fully implemented. Gifty Andwapia, Joy News, Accra.
And we have more business coming up after the break. Stay tuned. Right, it's now time for business, and Etonam Say is here. Good evening to you, Etonam. Apparently, the Ghana Employers Association is saying that 12,600 people have lost their jobs between January and now. That's quite serious.
Yeah, and it's actually going to get worse. We're going to hear from the Ghana Chamber of Commerce on that.
All because of the energy crisis?
All because of the energy crisis and then the fall in crude oil prices. Okay. All right, my name is Etonam Say. Inflation for March 2015 has gone up marginally to 16.6% from the February figure of 16.5%. The Ghana Statistical Service attributes the increment to high inflation in utility, housing, gas, and other fuels triggered by the cedi's depreciation and the fall in crude prices.
The prices of goods and services in the month of March went up by 0.1 percentage points compared to that of February this year. Housing, utility, gas and other fuels recorded a high of 26.2% following the depreciation of the cedi and crude price slump. The Statistical Service explains this accounted for the marginal increment in the inflation rate.
Not only depreciation of the cedi, there are other factors. We have, for example, the issue of oil prices and so on. Even though people are expecting oil prices to be lower. We don't have it as it still remain high, and we have the percentage change in that area also impacting on inflation, because people buy petroleum products, they buy fuel, they buy gas, they buy all the other items of petroleum. We have electricity, we have water, and we have housing. All these have inflation rates that are higher than the average. So these are all contributing. We have transport, we have recreation, we have education, we have clothing, and we have furnishing and household equipment and routine maintenance. These are all recording changes or higher changes in their general price levels.
The currency depreciation also accounted for a high year-on-year inflation for imported items at 21.3%, about 1.5 times higher than the rate for locally produced items at 14.9%.
Business owners say they are being compelled to embark on massive layoffs because of the increasing challenging business environment in the country. President of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Seth Ejeba, for instance, revealed to Joy FM's business analysis program, Business Trends, that between 30 and 40% of workers whose employers belong to the chamber have been laid off.
Dr. Seth Ejeba, speaking on Joy FM's Business Trends, indicated the ailing economy is making industries lose investments. He predicts most workers would lose their jobs by the end of the year if the power crisis persists.
We are still collating the figures, but what is happening is that until the things are stabilized for you to keep your heads above waters, the numbers are still going every now and then. Now we are sure about 30% are gone, and we believe that by the middle of the year, 40 to 45% will be gone. Especially those who are depending on energy to 100%, 100% energy.
Managing Director of Premium Aluex, Reverend Anthony Anderson, also reveals he has reduced his workforce from 65 to 8.
In my company alone, I said it's a small company. I had 65 employees. Today, I have 8.
What?
Yes, from 65 to 8 in a period of about 1 year. Just keep cutting down and cutting
Reverend
down.
Wasn't there for the Christmas after all?
No, Reverend cannot be a Father Christmas.
Business
otherwise, one day they would come to work and find that there's no money to pay them.
They'll beat you up.
And they'll beat you up.
The effects of the power crisis on local businesses have caused government to, among others, import emergency power barges. But businesses argue government's promises to restore the energy crisis remain unfulfilled, as no timelines exist for local businesses to follow.
And the Labour Department of the Employment Ministry is to be replaced with a new National Employment Resource Centre. Announcing the initiative, President John Mahama said part of the centre's role will be gathering of employment data to make the work of both job seekers and employers easier. The announcement also comes on the back of concerns by the Trades Union Congress. The Employment Ministry will be unable to implement the new National Employment Policy.
Let me assure my comrade, the Secretary General of the TUC, and all my comrades of organized labor that your ministry, the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, is a key ministry in my cabinet and is no way considered Siberian. I have assigned key tasks to this ministry, including the restructuring and reform of the Labor Department. And I was just noting to the minister that even the name puts you off, Labor Department. And so under this restructuring and reform, we intend to create a new National Employment Resource Center. That sounds more attractive and inviting, doesn't it? For you young people, if you had to go to a Labor Department or a National Employment Resource Center, which would you readily go to? Fantastic. This new center will enable the creation of a national employment and skills database from which employers can freely recruit. And our intention is not only to create a database, the database will have all young people who have registered, who are looking for jobs, their qualifications, and the kind of jobs they want. And employers who employ from that database will be given an incentive for being able to, for employing from that database.
And that's how we wrap up with business. My name is Etonamse. George Addo Jr. is standing by with the latest in sports.
Top of our agenda this evening in sports, we talk about women football because the 2014-2015 National Women League will commence this weekend in the northern and southern zones respectively, following the official launch on Wednesday in Accra. Now, 12 teams will be competing in the third edition of the competition with 6 clubs in each of the 2 sectors. Last season's champions, Hazarkas Ladies, will open their campaign at the Robert Mensah Stadium as guests of Lady Strikers. FA spokesperson Sunny Dara tells Joy Sports all is set for the big kickoff.
Resources. Through the FA's own resources, we are cushioning the clubs with an amount of 36,000 Ghana cedis. 36,000 Ghana cedis. Or if you want it in the previous currency, what would we say? 360 million. And this will be in addition to the officiating fees that we are taking all the costs. So you realize that the FA is doing a lot. It is heartwarming to once again congratulate the Women's League Board for the hard work they've put in. For all the 12 participating teams, we wish you good luck for this season and hope that, like we said previously, you would represent us in a good way. So when we put your case forward before potential sponsors, they will be able to say that they will be proud of the product that they are sponsoring.
We continue the build-up to the Joy Sports Invitational taking place this Saturday. And telecommunications operators Tigo say they are heading to the Elwak Sports Stadium on Saturday to rewrite the history of the Joy Sports Invitational Tournament. They have been running an eternal league, and that's enough to give them the upper hand over any opposition. Emmanuel Bentel is captain of the Tigo team.
I'm the central defender for the team. The last man, nothing passes. Everything that comes bounces off. We will deal with everybody. So if you know you are not ready, don't come. Just let us have a bye and go to the final. 5 goals.
The technical brain behind the team. I just want to repeat the words of Samuel Sekufo. We are coming with 3 things: determination, concentration, and determination.
We invite people from overseas to come and help us with the training. We have foreign-based players. Some based in Rwanda, some based Zero. Even this week, tomorrow we are playing our league, and Zero will be coming.
Not just that, in the last edition of the Joy Sports Invitational Tournament, Chief Executive Officer of Safolda Ventures, Adolf, fought tooth and nail to win the CEO's penalty shootout. And now the pregnant women of Safolda Ventures tell Joy Sports they'll be in for the kill.
We are geared up for this event, the Joy FM sports tournament, football tournament, and we have trained. A lot of our players have gone to Brazil and back, and we are geared up. This time around, I think Adolf has trained, and he's going to take the penalty shootout. And
I'm assuring you that we are bringing our 2 heavily pregnant women to the game this very Saturday. And we are keeping the cap. You see, they are keeping the balls for us, right? And we are going to release the ball this very Saturday.
We are taking part in the unisex relay and the penalty shootouts. You know, we always come prepared, so just expect the best from us. In fact, Safolda, Yaji Bedia.
Uno, and we'll continue to be numero uno.
Right, so all the bragging as they would like. We'll find out what Team Multimedia will do as well. Now, time to talk about the UEFA Champions League and the two great games already there. Of course, Barcelona managing to win there. Not only that, of course, FC Porto also doing very well to get it in all of that. Let's now get you the details of it because Barcelona have real concerns. And let's go straight into that game. Luis Suarez getting a goal as well as Neymar. We're just getting to the results right there. And also Bayern Munich having loads of problems in FC Porto. So let's go through it. We'll first of all start with FC Porto's game. And Bayern Munich lost by 3-1. Ricardo Quaresma got a brace in that. The other goal was scored by Jackson Martinez to ensure that they were in trouble. Thiago Alcantara got the consolation for Bayern Munich. They have the next leg to play in Germany. Maybe things could change for them. And then we just go into that one as well. We look at the other game, of course. It's Barcelona up against, and they managed to win by 3-1 as well against Paris Saint-Germain. Neymar getting a goal, Luis Suarez getting a brace. And so game's just about ending, just a few minutes to get there. But Barcelona have a fantastic lead going all the way to the Camp Nou. Of course, Jeremy Mathieu getting this one. Some 2-3 minutes to win the two games, and we'll find out how all of that pans out. Getting pretty exciting in terms of it. Just time to wrap up and put us all round in terms of sports and what we have tonight. I'm George Adder Jr. Israelite will join us with some more. You have a good night.
And that's it. Before we go a quick run through our top stories, new evidence in the bizarre gang rape story involving the Takoradi-based YFM presenter suggests the entire episode may have been staged. Suspected armed robbers allegedly shot to death a 29-year-old graphic designer in an attack on the home where he lived with his months-old wife. 12,600 workers are said to have lost their jobs in the last few months as a result of what employers say is a worsening energy crisis and generally difficult economic environment. And that's it. My name is Israelite. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good evening.
This is Joy News Prime.